Alright, Marty. So you got. Is that a prognathodon?
Don't be daft.
Alright, what is it then?
Thalassotitan tooth.
Right, Thalassotitan.
What's up with me not being in these videos recently? I don't think that's fair, is it?
Because. I don't know, I forgot.
Eh?
How's it going, everybody? It's your Mozo Prince Steel Tethys Yorkshire, and today's video I thought we'd do another episode of Sup With, and today we're going to do Sup With Thalassotitan because I've sort of realised that the prognathodon effect of, well, prognathodon is it's got a weird effect on the history and the taxonomic history of Thalassotitan. But first of all, before we delve into the Sup With Thalassotitan, let's talk about Thalassotitan itself. So, what I dubbed in my common name series as the transatlantic giant orca dragon, I know it's a bit of a mouthful. Whoa, hey, whoa. Thalassotitan is a 9 to 10 metre long prognathodon mosasaurinae mosasaurid. I know, taxonomy. It's hard. Thalassotitan is represented by quite a few different specimens. Actually, there's a large degree of them being unpublished, but there's quite a nice degree of published specimens in museum collections. Thalassotitan is characterised by a large skull. In some of the largest individuals, it can get up to 1.3 metres in length, but I suspect there's bigger specimens out there. But that skull is massively built, robust, and contains robust teeth in them jaws, and you won't want to fall into them, I tell you what. Teeth themselves are conically shaped, they've got wide bases, and they've got wrinkled enamel, and that wrinkled enamel could have various different variations amongst individuals, including faceting. Now, based on the original paper that describes this taxon, there's actually a lot of direct evidence to show the feeding habits of this particular mosasaurid. This animal would have fed upon turtles, fish, plesiosaurs, other mosasaurs, sharks, there's a whole load. And not only that, but from direct evidence of the fossils, we know that Thalassotitan often frequently fought each other, probably over, them turtles, sharks, and mosasaurs, because they were hungry. I mean, look at this fella here. He's right hungry. He's having a whole Haliosaurus, which is not a small mosasaur. It's about the size of a Nile crocodile. Now, Thalassotitan's only been described so far from the Maastrichtian phosphates of Morocco, dating to around about 67 to 66 million years ago in the Mosasaurus area of Morocco at the time. But there are scant remains across the globe that could indicate that Thalassotitan was a globally distributed mosasaur. In fact, I did a video on it. Go and have a check at it. Hey. Now here comes the fun part about Thalassotitan, because for a majority of its existence, well, technically, its taxonomic existence, it was classed in prognathodon, and we all know my feelings on prognathodon, don't we? Hey? Now, before we get into the Sup With bit of Thalassotitan, one thing I really want to preface right now is that through this research, Thalassotitan changes into several different taxa, and there's no reasons given. It is bizarre. It's bizarre. There's a bit more, towards the 2010s, there's a bit of reasoning there, but you won't see much reasoning, you'll just see a name change and that's it. Anyways, let's crack on. Right, so we're going to go to 1924 and 1925, first wave pair of papers that came out then, describing some isolated remains from the northeastern part of the Oulad Abdon Basin, which is basically where we get a majority of Maastrichtian phosphate fossils, particularly the mosasaurs. I mean, they're very popular. But these fossils were attributed to Lyodon anceps, which is a defunct genus from the chalk deposits of the UK. And these papers say, hey, we've got Lyodon in Morocco as well as the UK. Ain't that lovely? Now we're going to jump forward more than 25 years into 1952 with Camille Arenborg, who was a French vertebrate paleontologist. He's the namesake for a famous pterosaur called Arenborgiana. But this is the weird bit. So he redescribed these sort of very Lyodon-looking pieces as Mosasaurus brackets Lyodon CF anceps. Basically, it might be Mosasaurus, might be Lyodon, might have the name anceps. It's weird. And that's also because each described a large amount of different teeth, and I'm talking about large and small teeth that look very similar, with the smaller teeth actually today being attributed to the smaller mosasaur, Rhemeosaurus. And now we're going to jump more than 50 years to Bardi et al. 2004, where we get the first instance of the more commonly accepted modern day name before Thalassotitan for this taxon, which was Prognathodon sp. So for some reason, between 1952 and 2004, we've moved Mosasaurus brackets Lyodon CF anceps into Prognathodon sp. To be honest, I couldn't find the reason. Couldn't really find the reason at all. And, oh dear. Bardi et al. 2008 confuses me even more by mentioning that it's now Prognathodon brackets Mosasaurus, brackets Lyodon, brackets CF and Seps. But we've just established that it's Prognathodon SP. I tell you what, it gets even weirder from there because there's a range of papers from 2010 to 2017 that list Prognathodon SP, but also imply it might not be a new species, but it is a new species, but it could be a new species, but it might not be a new species. But anyways, there's other taxa in there, including Prognathodon giganteus, which that's mainly a European one, but they've said that this might be present based on the teeth. And then in 2015 they managed to distinguish the two by saying that the new species of Prognathodon, Prognathodon sp. nov, distinguished from Prognathodon giganteus through having taller crowns and having faceting. But we've also established recently that teeth don't sometimes, they sometimes have faceting but they don't, so I ain't got a clue what's going on there. And then two papers by Longridge in 2001 talk about Maastrichtian phosphate mosasaurs, switches it up entirely by mentioning that these prognathodons are probably Prognathodon affinis saturata, which is another European species, but there was a paper that described it maybe from Angola, so maybe this was attributed to that. But again, to switch for no reason. Why? But luckily, in 2022, Longridge, instead of adding more to the confusion, settled it entirely. He settled nearly 100 years of confusion around a potential Lyodon, Prognathodon, Mosasaurus, we haven't got a clue. What he decided to do was fuse Mosasaurus, brackets Lyodon, CF and Seps, Prognathodon sp. nov, Prognathodon giganteus, the Moroccan stuff, and Prognathodon affinis saturata into one entity, Thalassotitan. And in this paper, Longridge details a lot of differences between Thalassotitan and various species of Prognathodon, because Prognathodon is a bit of a mess and we can't really distinguish Thalassotitan from Prognathodon, the genus as a whole, because the genus as a whole, we ain't got a clue what is genus Prognathodon really. But also in this paper we have the resurrection of the old family name of Prognathodontini, or the subgroup I should say, a distinct subset within a Mosasaurinea, and the details of the skull, the robust skull and the jaws and the teeth are what distinguish this from other mosasaurians. So this little group of mosasaurs, they're distinguishable because they're heavy bruisers. And also Longridge proposed a couple of different species of Prognathodon, probably are either in Thalassotitan, but maybe allied to Thalassotitan, and maybe need their own genus names, you know, but it is what it is. It's all confusing. It's all Prognathodon, except for this fella. Now he's his own guy, aren't they? Eh? You're your own lad. Good lad. So, as you could see from this video and my entire mental state on Prognathodon, it's all very confusing, because great, Thalassotitan is part of Prognathodon, so it's hard to that mess. But to get to that, there was no explanation from the changes of different taxa, which is really weird because I still can't figure it out. But, you know, suck with Thalassotitan. But anyways, hope you found this video interesting. Hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you later. Ta-da, bye. And here's a little end video reminder. Links are in the description. If you donate, thank you very much. Much appreciated.